What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Black and Nerdy Tabletop. I'm your host, Zephyrnix, and today we're checking out archetypes for Pathfinder Second Edition. Now, what is an archetype? Okay, well, an archetype actually, a lot of people like to compare it to Pathfinder's biggest competitor, that is D&D's multiclassing. The problem with multiclassing is, or rather comparing it to multiclassing, is that it doesn't really fit so much as it does fit with D&D's subclasses. So yeah, you can actually choose a subclass that's called an archetype in Pathfinder. However, the biggest difference is that where subclasses are limited to the class themselves in D&D, such as a Eldritch Archer is actually connected to the fighter. In Pathfinder, the Eldritch Archer archetype can be connected to any class in the entire game. So you can be a wizard and be an Eldritch Archer. You can be whatever you want to be. That's pretty much what Pathfinder is all about. Now, there is a difference too when comparing it to multiclassing, because in D&D, the multiclassing, when you go ahead and let's just say that you start off as a wizard, right? So as you know, there are 20 levels when you're leveling up. But if you were to put 2 levels into fighter, you will never see your full potential of your wizard because he will be capped at 18. Because when you can't go ahead and put 2 levels in fighter and still reach level 20 in when you're multiclassing in D&D. Why? I don't know. But I will tell you that in Pathfinder, you can do that. You can choose a wizard and get all the way up to level 20 and still put some levels, some action into fighter as well. Yeah, you can actually do it. So at any rate, though, how does archetype works? Well, number one, you got to get your prerequisites, right? So your prerequisites can be anything, such as strength, such as plus whatever. You got to have 2 in strength, or you got to have 2 in charisma, whatever the case may be. Maybe you have to already know how to cast magic, or maybe you need to be trained in a certain skill. Once you pass that prerequisite and you choose that archetype, bada bing, bada boom, you now have your dedication. Your dedication is actually your pretty much proof that you've trained in that particular archetype, and they kind of give you some extra stuff because you trained in them. Now, once you go ahead and gave access, or well, you have to do that rather. Excuse me, let me try again. In order to go ahead and choose the archetype, you have to choose it once after level 2. But once you reach the ability to choose a class feat. So instead of choosing a class feat for, we'll just say wizard in this case, you can choose the class feat, you can choose under class feat to choose the archetype that you want. After that, when you get to other class feats that you can choose between either your actual class or the archetypes options that you'll have. And that's how it works pretty much. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of information. I definitely say go ahead over to inside of your player's handbook, the remastered version, and you can actually read all of this. This is kind of a broad stroke on really what it is, but I can talk about it forever. Let me go ahead and give you an example. So this is actually the acrobat archetype, right? So let's go ahead and kind of look here. So as you see right here, first of all, level 2, that's where the dedication is, meaning that you have to be at least level 2 in order to choose this. As you see, it has a prerequisite, which is trained in acrobatics. So as long as you're trained in acrobatics, you can actually get access to this archetype. Once you choose the archetype, you automatically get the dedication for that archetype. For this one, it tells you what you get with this dedication, and that is you become an expert in acrobats, which is actually pretty cool because if you're trained in acrobats, you get a +2 to any acrobat check. Once you become an expert, that 2 becomes 4. Once you reach level 7 as well, as it says at level 7, you become a master at acrobats, and at level 15, you become legendary at acrobatics, meaning that at level 7, once you become a master, that 4 becomes a bonus of 6. At 15, that 6 becomes an 8 because you become a legendary at it. So that's really good. It also states that whenever you critically succeed at an acrobat check to tumble through an enemy space, you don't treat the enemy space as difficult terrain. That actually is really good too, because what difficult terrain means is that instead of 5 feet, it's now 10 feet. So for those who don't know, it depends on how fast your character is. Each character has a speed, right? Say like 25 speed or 25 move speed. Well, each square is represented by 5 feet, meaning that 5 times, well, 5 divided by 25 is in fact 5, meaning that you can move 5 squares, okay? Now, with that in mind, if you have to move through a square that is considered difficult terrain, that is no longer 5 feet, but it's 10 feet. So you have to be careful about where you move. But at any rate, if you're tumbling through, you actually can ignore that. If you get a critical success, rather, you can actually ignore the fact that it's difficult terrain and only count it as 5 feet. So that is really good. Now, at level 4 and 6 and 7, you can get access to Contortionist, Dodge Away, Graceful Leaper, and other moves that you might get in any particular archetype. However, here, this is not a deep dive into acrobatics. This is just giving this as an example. But we have plenty of actual archetypes to choose from, and we're actually going to look at all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and make my make it smaller here. Actually, let me show here. Okay, there we go. That way I ain't got to be so small. All right. Sounds good to me. So just to kind of teach you how this works here, that's too small. Okay, we'll put myself up here. So, just to go ahead and explain it here, I'll go all the way up here. That way you guys can go ahead and look down at it. Okay, so just to kind of explain it here, most of the time you can choose, like if it doesn't have a uncommon tag, that usually means that it's a common archetype, which means that you can choose it anytime you want. Uncommon tags, however, usually means that it's attached to some form of story, well, some form of faction. If it says rare, it's usually connected to some form of storyline. If it has multi-class, you can still, it's just like common, you can still get it. It's just letting you know that this is actually a class as well. So at any rate, let's get started, particularly before my wife comes upstairs. So let's get started. So the archetypes include Acrobatic, Alchemist, the Adori Duelist, which, like I said before, is a faction, the Alkenstar Agent, Alter Ego, Archaeologist. Ooh, that's actually pretty cool. Archaeologist, I like that one. Archer, Artillerist, Assassin, Barbarian, Bard, Bastion. Bastions are really good too. For those who really want to get into shield gameplay and whatnot and use your shield as not just a defensive weapon but offensive as well, you want to go ahead and be a Bastion. That one is really cool. Beast Gunner, Beastmaster, Bellflower Tiller, which once again, that's a faction. Blessed One, Bounty Hunter, Bright Lion, faction, I think. Bullet Dancer, Butterfly Blade, that's not a faction, I don't think, but that's a martial artist. Captivator, Cathologic Mage, Cavalier, Celebrity, interesting, I want to look into that celebrity one. Champion, Chrono Skimmer, Claw Dancer, which is basically kind of like a martial arts with people who actually have natural claws. It's once again, really cool. Cleric, Clockwork Reanimator, which I'm not sure what that is. Corpse Tender, for those who want to be necromancers. It's funny because when you choose things like this, like the archetypes, you can be a different type of necromancer or a necromancer that specializes in different things. This one specializes in corpses. Crystal Keeper, Cultivator, Cursed Maelstrom, Dandy, Demolitions, for people who want to make things go boom. Dragon Disciple, Droll Shootist, even though there's no drow in the game anymore, but it's still there if you want it. Druid, Dual Weapon Warrior, Duelist, Edgewater Detective. Once again, that is in fact a faction. Eldritch Archer, Eldritch Researcher. I don't know why there are two elementalists here, but Elementalists and Elementalists. Exorcist, interesting. Familiar Master, Familiar Sage, Fan Dancer, Fighter, Firebrand Brigade, Fighterwork Technician, Five Breath Vanguard, Flexible Spellcaster, Folklorist, Gilded Shard, Geomancer, Ghost, Ghost Eater, Ghost Hunter. Interesting, Ghost Hunter. Ghoul, Gladiator, Golden League Shun, Grey Gardener, Gunslinger, Halcon Speaker, Howl Necromancer. There you go, another type of necromancer right there. Howlorder, Hell Knight, Hell Knight Armiger. Keep in mind that, and Hell Knight Cynifer. Keep in mind that Hell Knights are a faction, but you can definitely join up with them. I don't see why not. Herbalist, Horizon Walker, Inventor, Investigator, Jelmeri Heavenseeker. One of my absolute favorite classes right now in Pathfinder, the Kineticist. Knight Reclaimant, Knight Vigilant, Last Wall Sentry, Lynch, Linguistic, Lionblade, Living Monolith, Living Vessel, Lore Master, something I cannot pronounce, but actually looks pretty interesting. Magic Warrior, Magus, Martial Arts, Mauler, Medic. Yes, you don't need to be a cleric in this game. There are literally like plenty of ways to go ahead and be a healer without actually choosing a cleric and or a druid. Mindsmith, Monk, Mummy, something else I cannot pronounce. Can't pronounce it. Something else I can't pronounce. Oatia Sage, Sky Sage. I'll have to go ahead and run that through listening to see how that's spelled and how that sounds. But Oozemorph, Oracle, Ostili Host, Overwatch, Packbinder Initiate, Pathfinder Agent, which is very similar to the Harpers in D&D, just for those who want to know. Pirate, Pistol Phenom, Poisoner, Provocator, Psychic Duelist. Interesting. Ranger, Reanimator. Once again, another type of necromancer. Red Mantis Assassin, Ritualist, Rogue, Rune Lord, Rune Scarred rather. Scion of Domoria. Well, that's based on a story. That's definitely a story. I know that one. Scout, Scroll Trickster, Scroll Master, Scrounger, Sentinel, Shadowcaster, Shadow Dancer, not to be confused with the Genesis game about the ninja. Shield Marshal, Six Pillar, Sleepwalker, Snare Crafter, Sniping Duo, Sorcerer, Soul Warden, Soul Forger, Spell Trickster, Spell Master, Spell Shot, Spirit Warrior, Stalwart Defender, Starlight Sentinel. Yes, you can be your own goddamn Sailor Moon up in this piece, okay? Fighting evil by moonlight and winning love by daylight. I messed it up. I know. But I like my Sailor Moon, so it's been a while. Sterling Dynamo, Stone Brawler, Stone Bound, Student of Perfection, another martial arts style. Summoner, Swarm Keeper, Swashbuckler, Swords Master, Talisman Dabbler, Thermagurge, which is basically a witcher. Seriously, that's exactly what it is. Toss a coin to him. Another martial arts called the Fiddle Pit Contestant, Time Mage, Trapsmith, Trick Driver. Not really sure what that is about. Twilight Speaker, Undead Master. Once again, another type of necromancer. Undead Slayer, the reverse of a necromancer. Unexpected Sharpshooter, Ursine Avenger Hood. I have no idea what's going on with that. Vampire, another, pretty much the one way to become a full-fledged vampire is by choosing it as an archetype. That's interesting. Vehicle Mechanic, Verdant Shadow, Vigilante, Viking, Wandering Chef, Weapon Improviser, Wellspring Mage, Wearer Creature, Were Mimic, Winged Warrior, Witch, Wizard, Wormcaller, Wrestler, Zephyr Guard, and Zombie. Them's is a lot of archetypes. I was trying to catch it with say archetype as a stopped. I didn't. So because it's a lot of archetypes. So that's pretty much it for the archetypes. So if you choose one of our many classes here in Pathfinder, and I do mean many classes in Pathfinder, you're not limited to what you can choose, to what kind of character you want to be. You can be a cleric who wields a bow and casts magic, or rather wields a bow and casts magic through their arrows, or you can be a cleric who can also go ahead and moonlight as a wizard. You know, you have so many different options to choose with the class. Being an investigator who at the same time kind of dabbles in druid magic and things of that nature. Be a kineticist who is also trained in how to be a fighter. You know, I would say be a Magnus. A Magnus is basically an Eldritch Knight, so he has magic as well as martial capabilities. So the only thing he's missing at this point is clerical spells. So there you go. Be a cleric or be a sorcerer. You know, kind of dabble in sorcerer, or like I said, dabble in anything that you want, such as an acrobatic witch. You can do anything that you want, and that's one of the best things about Pathfinder. So let me know what you guys think about the brand about archetype features, and what kind of classes are you kind of make a combination of between classes and archetypes to create the class that you want. What things are you trying to go ahead and add archetypes to go ahead and the creation? I want to know everything. I can't say it, but I want to know it as well. Go ahead, do it. Comment section below. You guys have a good night. I'm out.